Have a good night.
Good night. All right. So yeah, I guess herein lies the slight problem is that poor Okami isn't here. Everybody please roll edge.
You mean?
Everybody, yeah. Yay! He's not dead.
Not dead.
What? What was that about, Bob?
Who's not dead?
Who do we not want to be dead?
The inspector.
Oh, I was about to say Alexei. Completely forgot about him, by the way.
Okay, and also I want you guys to suggest to Twister that Prodigy's request is Val. Well, now you probably wouldn't even make that request. So what probably has to happen is Sybil would make that request that Val becomes her personal servant instead, and then Sybil just kind of dangles Val over Prodigy's head. But yeah, in any event, it's the Teen Squad. Because Okami and Ace are both missing, the only people that actually show up for this are going to be the teens. But Bobub, I'll let you take over, Jean-Paul. Do you think you'll be okay with that?
We good, sir.
Okay, so just for the record, Jean-Paul was indeed grabbed by Rostani, who then brought him directly to Graf Galig. Well, not directly. There was a bit of a what's it called?
Struggle?
Yakety Sax as Voin was chasing him. Being a ghoul, he's very strong. He was able to carry Jean-Paul, but not run at full speed. So Voin was catching up. He realized Voin was following him, and he thought, shit, how does she know where I am? Comlink! Pulls it out of the other guy's pocket, throws it on the ground, and did a 180. Well, did a 180 over here. So basically ran up the stairs, dropped the comlink, ran back down.
What you're saying is, once again, no one expects the Voin.
Some people do. Bo does.
My money's still on Voin.
So Jean-Paul was brought before Graf Galligan. Rostani saying he's seen too much. The Graf's saying, I don't want to have to do anything regrettable. Let's speak with him first. Inspector, what was it that you witnessed? And the inspector would be honest, is that he saw evidence that a man was shot and killed upstairs, and that he believes that person to have been Chairperson Vladimir Natovepetnik, to which the fact that Alexei is still in the room will say, Chairperson Vladimir, he shot dead. That's 2 murders. And Galligan would say, yes, no, this is a very awful turn of events. Obviously, this murderer is out of control. When the police arrive, we will bring the party to a complete stop and make sure that everything is done strictly by the books. No more potential cover-ups. Everything, we will do our very best to make sure that this is all resolved above board, clearly, etc., etc. And Jean-Paul, well, he'll have suspicions that things did not play out the way the Count wanted them to, but the Count is still in enough control that he's spinning this in such a way that he's going to wind out on top. Yes, 2 murders happened in his home during a party, but there's enough chaos that the Count can't be held accountable, and the inspector knows it, and the Count knows the inspector knows it, and so the inspector realizes that he came to this party basically as a plant of someone else, unrelated to this entire encounter. The inspector was actually sent to deal with keeping tabs on the prince and princess, as the princess was actually accused of international human trafficking. Her family.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yes. And so, he was sent here in the stead of a guest who had received an invite, who, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. But what actually came down is the murder of the of the shaman was not planned, but the inspector believes Vladimir's murder was premeditated and was planned. But he's not going to reveal any of that, and he's going to play dumb and say, yes, obviously the murderer who murdered the shaman used that murder as a cover-up to also murder Vladimir. It was the same person. Make sense? No, I ask Bob Kara because Bob is going to be playing.
It makes sense. He's within the letter of the law. He doesn't have anything to go off of. It's going to be a bitter pill to swallow.
Okay, and so Daya will drag Heather by the hair through the building, down and upstairs again. Right, Kara? You're just full-fledged.
Upstairs? What do you mean?
Well, these stairs here go up again. So you blub 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 blub.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, was Kara taking her all the way downstairs, back upstairs, and then back downstairs before she takes her in?
Okay, no, she would carry her when she got to the stairs. So, fireman across the shoulders carry? Okay. So this little girl is carrying a woman twice her size over her shoulders.
Someone mentions, hey, I guess that little girl never missed a lift day.
Prodigy would probably suggest we don't take the main staircase. Would Daya be a bitch and say, we're not allowed to take the back stairs? Okay, she'd totally take the back stairs. Okay. And Val would make sure that the butlers and buttresses know to let Voin carry the unconscious person. And as you pass the vampire rooms, I hope you're not planning to make any detours into the vampire rooms.
Please not.
No. Okay. Great. So on and on you go. Eventually you make it to the room and present your murderer to the Count.
I'm just kind of appreciating the fact that none of you guys went looking for Okami.
Alright, so Daya points to Rostani. You lied to me. And Rostani places a hand, like the open palm, against his chest and looks up to the ceiling, and his other hand does a little twirl and says, "Me lie? Goodness, what an accusation." The sarcasm and sass dripping from his lips is almost as intense as the blood that was on it earlier.
The amount of sarcasm and sass coming out of this guy reminds me of another character, but he's still less punchable.
The guy says, "I don't like people lying." She points to the girl she dropped on the ground. "She lied to me too, and is the killer." To which point the Count will say, "Very good. What is your evidence?" She'll point to Prodigy. So Kara, you're straight up forcing Prodigy's hand.
I'm pretty sure the inspector would ask where the magical girl is.
Well, we'll wait for a moment. I don't think he'd interrupt the declaration of evidence. Kara doesn't want to, but Voin does. Voin doesn't have the same feelings that Kara does. Okay, so sorry, Twister, if you ever hear this recording. Daya sold you out. And I'm pretty sure Prodigy would be upset with Daya, but wouldn't hold back and would reveal that Heather had a military-grade comlink, which she was using to mess with the security of the building and deny the fact that she actually went over to the shaman's room where she spent enough time to actually commit the murders and erase her astral signature before running straight down to inform the Count. She never actually returned to her own room as she claimed she did originally. The Count will look to the inspector and say, does this kind of evidence, is this likely to hold up in court?
Oh, well, we would have to do a few other things. Printing DNA kind of stuff off the motor weapon, stuff like that. But then there's also the testimony and the psychometry evidence given by... where... where is she?
Wearing the wolf motif dress.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Okami did introduce herself with some name to Adam Maki earlier, didn't she? But in any event,
I can't recall.
Jean-Paul asks, I guess, everybody in the room, where is she? Sybil,
Yeah.
Daya, do you guys have any answer to that question?
She was on the balcony.
You guys damn about to ask where she was till
No,
now.
Daya says she was thrown off the roof. They're looking at her, waiting for elaboration on that. Like, even the Count's eyes kind of bulge out of his head. What, thrown off the roof? What?
Guys didn't go...
And then she says, by the storm spirit. Oh dear. And then he basically contacts his staff. Please search the grounds for the Asian woman with the wolf motif dress. And staff will immediately get on that.
No, with her testimony and everything else, if nothing should impede the investigation further from here, solid enough to at least prosecute, but... Well, I mean, bring up a...
The Count will say, the comlink also shows this woman, Heather, going to the room where the Vladimir was shot and killed, correct? Prodigy will take the hint and say, yes. And meanwhile, Prodigy will forge those records.
Did you happen to find the motor weapon? For the Vladimir's, the gun.
Daya? Daya says, no, only the sword, but we did not look. To which the Count will say, yes, when the authorities arrive, we'll be sure to cordon off the area with full cooperation so they may search for that murder weapon.
Mm-hmm. He would probably know that they're gonna that something might be up with that, but he knows he can't blockade enough of it to stop them from doing something of planting evidence. I'm guessing with the inspector. He's one man. Yeah. He can't cover all 3 crime scenes.
Indeed.